Hello and welcome to Cleaning Up History, where my goal is preservation of headstones and cemeteries while telling forgotten stories of the past. Warning, this video may contain adult content and violence. Viewer discretion is advised. So today's story is about my second great-grandfather, James Blaine Longmire. He was also known as Big Jim or just Jim Longmire. And before I get started, I just want to go ahead and credit my sources so that I don't forget to later. The Knoxville Sentinel from July 22nd, 1942. The Knoxville News Sentinel from July 22nd, 1942. And the Knoxville News Sentinel from October 24th, 1943. And I also want to say thank you to the ladies at the Cemetery Association for bringing this story to my attention. Even though this is part of my direct line, and I can't tell you how many years ago I obtained a copy of his death certificate, and it states right on his death certificate what happened to him. But for some reason I never caught that, and so I want to say thanks to Michelle Horn-Cole, Charlene Longmire, and Missy Brown for bringing this story to my attention. Thank you guys for that. And now I will get on into the story. So Big Jim was born to Sarah Elizabeth or Betsy Longmire, and his father's name was James Wilson, and he was born in 1886. And in November of 1906, he got married to Jenny Jones. Jenny was the daughter of William Jones. And they went on to have between 10 to 12 children. I'm not really sure. Some of the articles state 10, some state 12. I think I have actually 12 children listed in my tree. So I've not done in-depth research on this family, obviously, since I didn't even know this story. But somewhere between 10 to 12 children is what Jim and Jenny had together. But it was in 1940, October of 1940, when some strange things started happening in this family. So, the story has it that Big Jim was out drinking one night. I guess apparently he liked to drink, and he also liked women. And he got out and got drunk one night and accidentally married his girlfriend while still married to Jenny. So to rectify the situation, Jenny went and filed for a divorce so that Jim wouldn't be charged with polygamy. And the lady that he married, her name was Lula. Her maiden name was Murray, and her married name was Coffman. She had been married, some of the records say that this was her third marriage, but the marriage previous to Jim, it was General Coffman, and he had passed away 2 years prior to this occurrence. He passed away in 1938, and she married Jim in 1940. So Jenny went and filed for a divorce, but from what I can understand and what I read everywhere, they maintained a civil relationship. He continued to financially support all of his children, and he gave Jenny money as frequent as she needed it. And they talked on a normal basis, and he came and spent time with the children. But he went on to maintain this marriage with Lula, and they lived in a home in Morley that belonged to Lula's adult son, Harry Kauffman. Harry was around 26 years old, and he worked out of town. So for the most part, he wasn't ever here, and he allowed his mother and her husband to live in his home and take care of his home while he worked out of town. One article says he was in Baltimore, and another article says he was somewhere else. I don't know for sure where exactly he was. But they lived in this home, and it said that their marriage was rocky. Jim often left her at home by herself. So because of her being at home alone often, she felt the need for some protection, so she kept a .38 caliber pistol. And she stated that that's what she kept for protection due to the fact that she was home alone so frequently. On the night before this occurrence, it said that Jim wasn't at home that night, that he was on a trip to Highcliffe, and he was with Emmitt Baird and Ed Tidwell. Do you guys remember Emmitt Baird from my story about the murder of Marion Bolton? Yeah, Emmitt was, the guy playing the banjo the entire time that his brother was killing Marion Bolton. Interesting story. If you didn't watch that video, I'll leave a link in the description box below so that you guys can go check that story out. But anyway, Jim was on a trip with Emmitt and Ed, and he wasn't home that night. And upon returning home, a argument arose. There are several different stories as to what the argument was about. One of the stories is that Jim had intended on leaving Lula and was letting her know and was coming to get his things, and he was going to go back home to Nancy and his children. Another version of the story is that Jim was trying to get money from Lula. Jim's children would later testify that Jim actually had plenty of money on that particular day, that he had actually given them $100 cash and had plenty more cash, and that he would have had no need to get money from Lula. One of the investigating officers said that when he arrived on the scene, that Lula had said to him that the argument was about Jim's attentions to other females, particularly to Nancy, his first wife, and a girl, quote unquote, up the valley. So, I guess Jim may have had another girlfriend up the valley somewhere. But Lula would later testify that the argument was about money, and that Jim was often physically abusive to her, and that previously he had choked her so hard that she bled from her mouth and ears. She testified this in court. So, regardless, they got into an argument. It escalated. It escalated quickly. And, Jim ended up shot in the center of his forehead with the .32 caliber pistol, and in the dining room of their home in Morley. In the testimonies and all the records I can find in the newspaper articles I can find, Lula confessed to killing Jim and stated that it was in self-defense because she feared for her life, that he was a big man and he had already almost choked her to death once, and she was afraid of what he was going to do to her. Therefore, she grabbed her pistol and shot him. She also testified that she had never in her life fired a gun before. And this gunshot was in the center of his forehead, and it was at a downward angle. And Big Jim was a lot bigger than her. And the bullet went in at a downward angle. There was also testimony that Harry Kauffman, Lula's 26-year-old son, he was at home at the time of this event. He was at home on vacation, and he testified that he was asleep in the bed, and not even the gunshots woke him up, that he didn't know what had happened until his mother actually woke him up and told him what had just happened. And there was also testimony that Harry had previously written Jim a letter stating if he ever harmed his mother, he would regret it, and quote unquote, he don't mean maybe. So Harry's in the bed asleep. Jim and Lula are in the dining room yelling and screaming at each other. Lula picks up a gun that she's never shot before and shoots Jim dead center in the forehead at a downward angle. And Harry's asleep the whole time, and none of this wakes him up. Did Harry really sleep through these gunshots in this fight? Did Lula really shoot Jim? Well, Lula was found guilty of the murder. She confessed, and she was found guilty. And in 1944, she was sentenced to 5 years. I don't think she'd done those 5 years because in 1945, a year after her sentence, she remarried to a man named Charlie Coffman. I'm not sure if he was related to her previous husband or not, but she remarried him in 1945. So what do you guys think? Do you think that Jim was abusive? Do you think that Lula was the one that shot him? Both families seem to just moved on, like that whole 2-year time period never happened. On Jim's death certificate, Nancy is listed as his wife. His body was taken to Nancy's home, and he was buried in the family cemetery of Nancy's family, where later Nancy was buried beside him when she passed away, and all of his children are buried in that cemetery. And the Coffman family just went on like, it never happened also. It's a very strange situation. And it's like both families just try to make those 2 years disappear, and the Kauffmans acted like, just try to make the whole relationship and murder disappear. I personally don't think that Lula was the one that killed Jim. This is just my personal opinion from reading all the testimony. I think it was Harry. Was Jim abusive to Lula? Possibly. I mean, if you walked in the dining room of your own home and a man is being yelling or being physical with your mother and there's a gun laying there, are you going to shoot him? How are you going to deal with the situation? I'm not saying that anyone is at fault for this. I'm just saying I don't think Lula was the one that killed Jim. Let me know what you guys think. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you think Lula or Harry killed Big Jim, or what you think may have happened. And that's the story I've got on Big Jim Longmire. I didn't do an actual cleaning up history video on this one because I'd already cleaned up his headstone, and it's starting to get colder outside, so I may have to evolve more to this type of video rather than doing voiceover videos, because I don't want to clean headstones when the temperature starts dropping and risk liquids getting in the pores of the stones and then freezing and cracking the stone. So there may not be many more of the cleaning up history videos until spring of the year. But that's my story on my second great-grandfather, Jim Longmire. And if you like the content of my channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below. And if you hit the little bell button, you'll be notified anytime I upload any more videos. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.